Let's speak now with Amy Qin. She's an international correspondent for the New York Times who spent 8 years in China, and she's the author of a piece in the Times today on how Taiwan is closely watching developments in Ukraine. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Your article details both similarities and differences between the situations in Ukraine and Taiwan. What's the bottom line? Because aren't the increased security measures announced today proof that the Taiwanese authorities themselves are drawing parallels through their actions, if not their rhetoric?
I think we should be very clear that there's no sign so far that what's happening in Ukraine has changed Beijing's calculus when it comes to its thoughts on Taiwan at all. We don't see the military forces being arrayed against Taiwan in a way that we would expect. We haven't seen any sort of sign so far that there have been any changes. And we should remember that this is also a very important political year for Xi Jinping, China's leader. He's expected later this year to take an unprecedented third term in power, and the incentive for him is to have social stability to the extent possible prior to that. So I think that there's no immediate concern. At the same time, I think that President Tsai Ing-wen of Taiwan, her statement yesterday on Wednesday, basically saying that we need to ramp up our defenses, was also a way of signaling to the public that Taiwan is, of course, watching the situation and very alert. So it was more about reassuring the public than it was about responding to any actual change on the ground.
So in terms of reassuring the public, you're based in Taiwan right now. What is the mood on the ground there? Are you noticing members of the public talking more and more about the situation in Ukraine and how it might affect them going forward?
I think it's only natural that because this is dominating the news right now, people are drawing these parallels. The concerns about China often dominate the conversation within Taiwan. But at the same time, I don't think that we're seeing people being panicked here. People have been living in Taiwan under the threat of invasion from the Chinese Communist Party for decades. This is not new to them. The Chinese Communist Party has been sending warplanes towards Taiwan on a near daily basis. And so I think that what people here are thinking is that we just need to be cautious and alert, but also stay calm.
The U.S. has officially committed to protect Taiwan through the Taiwan Relations Act, but NBC has reporting that casts doubt on our ability to go head-to-head with China. Do you think Taiwan could weather a Putin-esque invasion and annexation from China without U.S. support?
I think it would be very dependent on how such a conflict would unfold, and it's very difficult to say one way or another until the moment actually happens. The main focus should be on deterrence, and I think that a lot of that is through arms sales to Taiwan, to making sure that its own military is developed to the extent possible to more basically make the idea of attacking Taiwan as unappealing as possible. If China, the last thing that Taiwan wants is to end up in a war of attrition with China. So basically, its incentive is to make sure that it can respond as quickly as possible to any kind of attack from the beginning.
So on the one hand, you have a very strong U.S., European, Western response towards Russia and Putin over Ukraine, which some would argue sends a message to China that, look, don't do what Putin's doing. Look what's happening to Putin. On the other hand, you don't have a NATO equivalent in Asia. There isn't the same defense of at least other countries in the region as there is in Europe with Ukraine's neighbors. So what real lessons can we draw? I mean, you wrote this great article for the Times. Given there's these similarities and differences, where does that leave us overall?
Even though there is no NATO infrastructure here, I think, of course, the U.S. has been talking a lot about pivoting towards the Indo-Pacific, and it's been dedicating more resources to its security here. It's been, I'm sorry, one second. It's been, shoring up alliances with its most important allies, such as Japan and the Philippines. And I think that basically there shouldn't be a concern here that the lack of a security infrastructure here would be very different. We should remember that Taiwan is very important for the U.S. in terms of the first island chain. If Taiwan it goes down, then that would be a huge threat to the United States. So in terms of its allies, Japan and the Philippines, and other allies in the Asia. And so I think that we should be looking at it a little bit differently.
Amy Qin, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for your time. I'll let you get that phone call now. Hi, I'm Mehdi Hassan. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more of the Mehdi Hassan Show by clicking on any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thank you for watching.